Hello, let's have a look at the super self. This is the idealized role that get assigned to every person within the family unit. In human relations, every relationship has some kind of fantasy, be it a love relationship, a mother-child relationship, a husband-wife, pastor congregation. There's always a fantasy whereby the one that has the upper hand determines the role that they want to play, as well as the roles that the people beneath them in the hierarchy will play. So, similarly, in narcissism, we find the kind of fantasy taking place, and it's called the super self. So, when this relationship fantasy plays out, it gets to be rolled out without announcement. There's no manual for it. It's all mental and emotional, okay? And remember, narcissism is something that for most people is generational. You'll find people saying that, oh, what my parents did to me is something that their parents were doing to them, or that my grandparents were doing to me, and my parents were hopeless to defend me. So these roles just get passed on, get assigned. They're all unspoken, but the people they're in have to comply and participate. Failure to comply means you get the most egregious rage, backlash, smear. You get absolutely annihilated within the social dynamic or the Christian dynamic that you exist in. When we are looking at the super self within the Christian family, for narcissistic Christian families, they typically obviously assign themselves, which would be the parents, they assign themselves the role of being perfect, very good servants for the church, for the community. They give themselves that role, and they bend over backwards to fulfill it so that it can work for them in their absence. Look at it this way, it's like having an online remote job where you get to work at the comfort of your home in any country on any desktop. You make money while you sleep. The money just comes in for you. You don't need to clock in, you don't need to report to anyone, you don't even need to answer emails. Everything is automated. So that is how they operate. So when the parents assign for themselves, by virtue of being parents, that they want to be the beautiful image in society, absolutely loving, they work on that. It is work. Similarly to when someone is building a remote business, everything requires work. You have to put in the work to set up all the systems, to make sure all of the automated systems are running, so that you can sit back and enjoy your system to operate without your daily input. So that's how the parents work. They lay the foundation on just making sure that they do all the things that are face value so that they can buy the interests of certain people in the community and society, and they make as many investments as they can out there in the world in front of everyone to see, except for home where their contribution is needed the most. So all of this is done because it is calculative and it is highly strategic, because they know that it is an investment. They are sowing a seed. And here's where it gets twisted. Most parents in this role that they have selected for themselves, they stretch themselves so thin that the children get so confused that, well, why are my parents investing so much in so many people? Well, why would you teach your siblings, put them through university, and yet you cannot take care of your children? But it's only when we grow up that we realize that, oh, they were doing all those things because they needed to score points. They needed validation. They needed everyone and anyone that has eyes to see to say, oh, that's a great person. Oh, she's such a lovely dad or such a lovely mom. In this way, when the kids are growing up and things start happening, and God forbid, a scapegoat tries to stand up for themselves, it's just gonna be like, no way, this is an amazing human being. She's such a philanthropist. He's such a philanthropist. There's no way they could be capable of emotional abuse. So, as a child, when you are growing up with a parent who is so invested, obsessively invested in their image that they are cultivating for people to see, you become a child that tries to help them at first, but then you help them to the point where your natural instincts and boundaries kick in, and you're like, wait a minute, why am I doing so much? And you instinctively don't want to do so much because you realize the people that I'm doing all these things for in helping my parent, they don't even care about me, or they don't even care about my parent. And when you relay the message to the parent that, hey, why are we doing all these things for these people? But then they don't even care. Like, I'm not talking about giving here. I'm talking about when parents engage in activities, when they overcompensate, when they over exert themselves in other people's lives, and they involve their subservient children to help. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And the child's pure innocent instincts are going to kick in and say, no, why are we doing this? Then the parent is now going to start to, vilify the child, because a bit of resistance for a narcissist always calls for confrontation, and of course it is a threat. Now that we've covered the first example of the super self role in the family, which is the role of the parent or the narcissist in this case, or the guardian, whichever person has the higher power or upper hand in the family dynamic. That was the first role we covered. So now let's look at the other roles that get assigned in the super self fantasy. Okay, so up next we usually have the golden child. Can be one or two depending on the size of the family. This is someone who is going to be allowed to live a beautiful life, have a beautiful life, and they'll be allowed to have their dreams. They'll be supported financially, morally, spiritually, in every way imaginable. They will be absolutely protected. For example, if other kids are being demanded or expected to do certain tasks, the golden child is going to be exempt from those tasks. The golden child is going to receive the moral, emotional, spiritual, physical support, whereas the other kids won't. So this role is just the pet, parent's pet or the guardian's pet within the family dynamic. Also, into adulthood, we find that the golden children are encouraged towards great things such as marriage. They are supported. They are sent to universities. They're given all these opportunities and love and support, presence that any child would want. They are also given a beautiful image in society, in the church community, in every area and aspect of their lives. They are secure, their interests are guarded and honored, their feelings are validated all the time. Then the third role, the typical and most common role, is the scapegoat. So a person who has been assigned the scapegoat is someone who is the target or the outlet for narcissistic abuse. This is the individual or the child who is going to bear the burden of the narcissistic abuse. They're typically going to be the ones to suffer and experience all of the unfair treatment, the invalidation of feelings, The disregard, the humiliation, the smearing, that is the scapegoat individual. They're the ones that normally get those kind of roles. And also, when they grow up, their childhood is very different. So these children are obviously from one family unit, but they will have totally different childhood experiences and life experiences. The scapegoat will be having an experience of invalidation. They'll be shut down all the time. They will be vilified and smeared. Their character will be smeared. They will be, disregarded ultimately within the social dynamic and the church community. They will just receive the crumbs of whatever the parent has. And I've seen with a lot of examples that people report that as scapegoat children, they were not afforded the same support, love, encouragement, kindness, protection. They were not even provided the same opportunities in life. One of the ladies mentioned that her parents sidelined her and placed the two older brothers as golden children. She went on to explain that, of course, she went through everything: the invalidation, the abuse, the indifference, the smearing of character, all of those things. And the parents did not support her with anything. They didn't take her through college. They didn't help her have a kickstart in life, whereby they went all out for the older brothers. And the most incredible thing happened, because as she got into adulthood, God blessed her with relatives that just had a soft spot for her. And this aunt funded her business, which she wanted to pursue post high school graduation. And by the grace of God, her business took off and it became a great success. It became so successful that she was able to buy herself a house, a car, pay back the aunt, and even double the amount as a token of appreciation. And at that time in her life, the brothers who received all the support and love and spoiled, they were on their dry season in life, and the parents were begging her that, oh, please take care of your brothers and whatnot. And she took the decision to say, no, I'm not taking care of them. I'm not going to do anything for them. And they went from asking politely to just being demanding her of it. And they just went to flat out insult her for refusing to take care of her brothers. Because, she has every right. And she felt that was the best thing for her. The decision she made her feel at most peaceful within herself. And so that was just an example to show you how these roles play out. A lot of people think that such things end in childhood, but in reality, they don't. Like the example of this lady. Not only was she scapegoated in childhood, but even in young adulthood, the parents were still adamant on sidelining her, on not supporting her. They literally determined in their hearts and were very calculative about everything regarding their kids, and they made sure that they support these two and they put her out in the cold. So those are the roles that we have within the family dynamic. Now, let's look at the roles that we have in a narcissistic Christian family, which are assigned outside of the unit itself. So the roles that are outside the family unit are enablers and flying monkeys. These roles are typically assigned to relatives, church members, community members. If it's a work environment, it would be your colleagues, your work acquaintances, your senior management, your CEO or company director. Those are roles that are assigned to enforce narcissism, to fuel and support the fantasy of the head of the family unit or the head of the relationship dynamic. So let's take, for example, the flying monkeys. Those are the ones that are closest to the narcissist and closest to the family unit, which would be extended family members, as well as the close church members, as well as close family friends, as well as church members. In that dynamic, we have a situation whereby the narcissist would go ahead and lay the foundation I spoke about earlier on in the other video. The foundation of being this philanthropist, this super nice person, because they have to build up their rapport so that when the scapegoat grows up and speaks up for themselves about the abuse, it'll just be unbelievable, so that everything is set up in a way that no one is going to believe the scapegoat. So these are people that are going to advocate for the narcissist. These are the people that are going to pursue the scapegoat on behalf of the narcissist. They are going to do the narcissist's bidding. Okay? And then the enablers are going to be people from the community or the church, and also extended family members. They are people that are also going to buy into the narcissist's foundational narrative and facade, and they will then be enablers. You'd find that the scapegoat tries to go seek for help, seek for counsel, but they will be met with mockery. They will be told, oh, she can't be that bad, or he can't be that bad. They will be met with the utmost undescribable, dismissive response. Why? That's because the narcissist has long ago laid the foundation with all these people. Because remember, when the family dynamic is growing, the adult is already grown up. So the adult is the one that has these relationships anyway, that children come into and they get to participate in as relatives and church community. So the adult has had plenty of time to establish relationships, to build up their rapport and facade. So by the time the child arrives on earth and they grow up and they, God forbid, stand up for themselves, it just becomes absolutely unbelievable. So those are just the typical examples that I wanted to give on the super self roles. To summarize them again, the first role is the narcissistic leader, which would be the enforcer. Then we have the golden child or golden children. Then the scapegoat, followed by the flying monkeys who do the narcissist's bidding. Lastly, the enablers. I hope this video has given you a greater understanding of the roles, how they get assigned, and each type and how they play out. I will see you next time. Thank you. Stay blessed.